What's up guys, Houndish here. Today we are jumping in with more Destiny 2 updates and news, but this time it's coming from both Bungie and the community itself. Of course, the community around Destiny is an important one and actually is a pretty valuable resource in many ways. So we have news updates, we have reaction, and there's plenty of reaction to this week's TWID, being the first update of 2026. A lot of anticipation for the roadmap for Destiny 2, which doesn't only exist because Bungie have been away over the holidays. Of course, it's existed long before that, but the fact that Bungie have been quiet has kind of amplified and built up this expectation that we'd have more interesting communications. Otherwise, we got some super good advice and general interesting goings on in the Destiny community and the game. So we got the first TWID of 2026 this week. Largely, it was focused on recapping Dawning creations, many of which are, to be fair, very cool. There's a section about game to give in there as well, which is important. But with regards to actual Destiny, there's a lot of disappointment that Bungie didn't speak more about the live game. And of course, we get loads of interesting responses here from the community on Reddit, from the thread. Out of 10, I give this TWID 2 tokens and a blue. This week in Destiny, we were all on vacation for 3 weeks. Bye! This one got me. Okay, I know people like to say nothing twab, but this isn't a casual nothing twab. This is a competitive nothing twab, going for Ascendant 0. But it circles back to this roadmap conversation, another year, and we still don't have a state of the game or roadmap. Lucky on Twitter said, Bungie is starting off 2026 with a rough TWID and no substance. Was kind of hoping for them to start actually trying to build momentum, but instead, more of the same. I understand not every TWID is going to excite the community, but it's a new year, and 2025 was the worst year ever for the franchise. Get it together. So there's more of the same here. I'm not blowing it out of proportion. Everywhere I look in the reactions to this TWID, it is largely quite disappointing. Realistically, I don't think we were ever going to get the roadmap for Destiny in the first TWID of the year. Most of us probably understand that. More realistically, I think the TWID not speaking about the live game in any real capacity. Of course, we're getting Arms Week in January, according to Bungie's calendar at least, and they don't touch on that. They don't touch on upcoming patches or actual fixes they have in the pipeline. And we know that there should be some updates coming in January, so in a way that's the kind of main fuel for the fact that players are disappointed by this first TWID of the year. And I totally get it. We do need to cut Bungie some slack in the fact that they've actually been away from the studio, so when they walked into the offices again on Monday or Tuesday of this week, they probably didn't have a lot of coordination, and that's why this week's updates were not especially engaging in relation to Destiny 2. And I'm confident that it will improve. But other threads give us interesting questions like upcoming roadmap expectations. Genuinely interested in what everyone expects from the roadmap that's supposedly releasing soon. Just keep in mind, Bungie had said they're taking time to craft their strategy and to build a multi-year roadmap for Destiny and a state of the game update. So that's certainly not the same as saying new year or even spring. Although I, of course, hope that that will be the case. And some folks say I see Marathon being Bungie's main focus for 2026, and to an extent I think that's going to be true, especially in this early part. Although Marathon and Bungie do have their own dedicated teams, so based on what Bungie have said, there should be no reason that Destiny development in whatever capacity slows down because of Marathon in the immediate future. And obviously that roadmap will consist of the actual content pipeline, right? The DLCs, the major updates, but also what players are really looking for in the roadmap is the core game, right? So what happens to the portal? What happens to our rewards? Are we going to be updating stuff from old raids and dungeons or activity content? What will happen to the power grind? What will happen to featured gear? All these kinds of things. I feel like that's where Bungie will actually be making changes to these systems over a period of a year or two, as opposed to there being a big fix-it-all update, which is the easiest way to summarize what is probably most realistic in terms of what that roadmap will actually outline. But yes, I want it soon. There's another thread here about why players left Destiny 2, and apparently this data is collected from Destiny the game and other D2 threads, Bungie forums, Twitter, and all that kind of stuff. 25% of this response is actually about player burnout, which credit to the people who've said that, because often folks purely blame Bungie for the fact that they're tired of Destiny, and Bungie have a very significant role in it. I'm not sticking up for them and saying it's nothing to do with them, but there's also the fact that this is a 10-year-old franchise now, so player burnout's a big part of it. The other big component players talk about is content removal and vaulting, which has always left a very sour taste, because it's this concept that it's something you paid for, but you now cannot play any longer. Then there's also the conversation about monetization and the cost of things in the game, bugs and tech issues, the game feeling like a job, and there is a slice in there for lack of roadmap communication, shrinking community and matchmaking, as well as PvP balancing problems. All I can really do is ask you guys, if any of you stop playing Destiny for periods or have stopped entirely, what's the main reason? I'd be curious to know. Onto some super good advice for those who are playing a bit of Destiny. You're able to carry cargo with the Falcon and Behemoth. Strangely enough, I've played a lot of Lawless Frontier and never actually tried to do this, so probably something worth giving a go there. Connected to Lawless Frontier and all of that stuff though, here's a good question. Will Bungie nerf the Praxic Blade at the end of the season, or is it here to stay? Of course, Praxic Blade's incredibly strong at the moment. It's the primary weapon that all of us are using. It's almost the primary special and heavy and ability set for the game at the minute, which is bonkers. It's a lot of fun, but after a month of it, even I find myself, while it is awesome, almost getting a little bit bored of using the same loadout, but when you take it off, other things just feel nowhere near as powerful. So ultimately, that's going to come home to roost at some point because I feel like the weapon just can't stay as strong as it is right now. Whether Bungie actually nerf the Praxic Blade though, or whether the nerf for the Praxic Blade is essentially achieved by removing seasonal mods, for instance, isn't entirely clear. I think that's largely how Bungie will do it. It's the fact that they've built in seasonal mods, which are also insanely strong, and when you pair them with Praxic Blade, they're affecting its ammo, damage, and various other things. So when you take that away, it will be a very different story, and maybe that's Bungie's main approach for how they will ultimately nerf the Praxic Blade. Other threads here only mentioning because I totally agree. Haven't finally got the Indigo Crystal. I agree with what I've heard. It's too white. And it's definitely true, it's just not saturated enough, is it? It's kind of weird that Indigo exists in a way, right? Because you can get the purple one from Eververse, I think, and then you've got the magenta one, which is very pink. So the Indigo one just kind of ends up being the budget, really bad version of those. Otherwise, future-facing, we did mention this briefly the other day, but remember those Nightfall ciphers and Assyrian ciphers we were told to hold on to by Bungie? It's looking like Bungie are updating and introducing a handful of ciphers, which will enable us to purchase or get gear dropped from the portal, which potentially will include stuff from the Edge of Fate era that currently doesn't drop, like Mint Retrograde, TechSec Armor, Smoke Jumper, and all of those kinds of things. And the anticipation is that we will get that in March with the major update, which is Shadow and Order. So if you have Nightfall ciphers, they're now renamed to Pinnacle Ops ciphers, and if you've got them in your inventory, make sure you don't delete them, because obviously they're going to do something. Random super good advice here. Duty Bound with Accelerated Assault, 4 times the charm, and triple tap can fire forever as long as you're hitting crits. So that's one potential role if you're going to hit a lot of headshots. I actually used Duty Bound very briefly with a decent roll. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it just doesn't feel that good to me. Although maybe this is the Praxic Blade spoiling the day. Somebody asked a question about whether marathon armor sets are still available, the ones that actually came in Destiny 2 with the 30th anniversary. There was a great response here. Yep, it's a grind. You need to complete a bunch of horse activities. I forgot the name, so that you can get enough keys to open it. Also, you need to own the 30th anniversary bundle. Horse activities. That's awesome. So anyway, yeah, apparently if you play Dares of Eternity, you can get them by using treasure keys to open the chests at the base of each Guardian statue. So that's how you get those armor sets if you're curious to add them to collections for cosmetic purposes or whatever. Separate to that, we will be getting actual Marathon Runner armor sets added into the Eververse store at some point during this season. Of course, Marathon's launch is meant to be in March, so these will probably be in game around the time Shadow and Order drops. I'm going to say no more about Marathon because I practically get beheaded every time I do. Final couple of cool ones here. My 10-year-old controller trying to ruin my solo flawless Vespers host attempt. Look at that. Controller disconnecting right at the end of that jump, but I guess they got lucky and landed on that pillar, or did they? Because, oh my goodness, they nearly got killed. You'd be absolutely enraged, wouldn't you, right before the final boss if that's how you died. And sort of a wholesome thread here to end, but I keep forgetting how normal Destiny players are until I LFG and hear someone's real life in the background. First guy sounds like he's playing from inside a wind tunnel. Every time he talks, it's like shh, plus the sound of a ceiling fan fighting for its life. The second guy has the cleanest mic I've ever heard, like he's recording an audiobook. He keeps saying nice in a calm voice every time anything happens. A little later, fan mic guy says he'll be right back. He comes back and says, sorry, my ramen overflowed. No shame, no drama, just ramen. Then he adds, good news, the cat is not on fire. And I guess sometimes it's easy to forget, when you get your head popped off in PvP or someone messes something up in your dungeon run. Man, they're just normal people. Most of them anyway. I'm sure there's some oddballs. Okay, it's the internet, yeah, but whatever. Most people are kind of normal. A little bit normal. There we go, that's the weekly community recap with some highlights, I suppose. Let me know if you think this format could potentially be interesting. I'm kind of playing around with different ways to engage with the game and the community, especially because we will have quiet times, right? It's inevitable. So just seeing what I can do, but maybe everyone will hate it. That's another feature I keep finding recently. We can't help that the game's quiet, man. Give me your thoughts in the comment section. If you did enjoy the video, a rating would really help us out. Otherwise though, cheers for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.